Conservatives Friday nights aren't so long. Saturdays are 4 hours. So I just found out that it has conservative and reform. And then Saturday's pass. Sonic is an organization. Maybe you're thinking messing out. Kind of a blend. Yes, I do.
Yeah, next subordinate. Next subordinate.
Okay. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Okay, we are on page 192. Somebody help her with the book. She's in the wrong book. Behind you. Yes, help. Please help her. She's in the wrong book. Shabbat Shalom, Peggy.
Shabbat Shalom.
But you really should sit, Peggy. Come close. Page 192, Ma Tofu.
Ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael, ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael, v'ani berochasecha, ahavo v'yitecha, eshtachaveh l'kotzecha, be'yiratecha, ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael, Adonai ahavti, me'an beitecha, u'mekom mishkan kevodecha, mishkan kevodecha, v'ani eshtachaveh, ve'yechra'ah, erecha lifnei Adonai, otzi, ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael, v'ani tefilati lecha, Adonai et ratzon, Elohim berot chasdecha, Elohim berot chasdecha, aneni be'emet yishtecha, ma Yisrael, Mishkenotecha Yisrael.
Shabbat Shalom again. I seem to be outnumbered today. What? We're all human beings though, right? Okay. Let's turn to page 195 and read together. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe. With divine wisdom you have made our bodies, combining veins, arteries, into a finely balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life, were one of them to fail, how well we are aware we would lack the strength to stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, source of our health and strength. Baruch atah Adonai, rofei chol basar umafli la'asot.
Lai, 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 lai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has given the mind the ability to distinguish day from night. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who opens the eyes of the blind. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who frees the captive. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who lifts up the fallen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who stretches the earth over the waters. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who strengthens our steps. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who clothes the naked. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who gives strength to the weary. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who removes sleep from the eyes, slumber from the eyelids. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who made me in the image of God. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me free. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me a Jew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who girds Israel with strength. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who crowns Israel with splendor. Let's read on page 205. We seekers of God, how do we find you? In good deeds and in the study of Torah and your search for us. You find us in the bending of the knee, in the rigor of study, in the honesty of commerce, through a good heart and through decency, in respect, true fellowship, companionship, and love, through peace and the no that is really no, and the yes that is really yes. Baruch atah Adonai, hamelamed Torah li'amo Yisrael. 207. There are 8 degrees in the giving of tzedakah. Each one is higher than the one before. To give grudgingly, reluctantly, or with regret. To give less than one should, but with grace. To give what one should, but only after being asked. To give before one is asked. To give without knowing who will receive it, although the recipient knows the identity of the giver. One's identity. To give so that neither giver nor receiver knows the identity of the other. To help another to become self-supporting by means of a gift, a loan, or by finding employment for the one in need. Continue now with Psalm 150, page 218.
Hallelujah.
B'kodsho, hallelujah, birki yazo, hallelujah, b'gvuratav, hallelujah, kirov gudlo, all hanishama hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. All hanishama, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Beteka shofar, hallelujah, benevel vechinor, hallelujah, betovu machol, hallelujah, beminim be'ugav. Kol hanishamate hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hanishamate hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Betzilzilei shama, hallelujah, betzilzilei truah. Kol hanishamate hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hanishamate hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hanishamate hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. 223. You shall always be praised, great and holy God, our sovereign on heaven and on earth. Songs of praise and psalms of adoration become you, acknowledging your might and your dominion. Yours are strength and sovereignty, sanctity, grandeur, and glory always. We offer our devotion, open our hearts in acclamation. Baruch atah Adonai, El Melech Gadol Batishbachot, El HaHodaot, Adon HaNiflaot, Abocher B'Shirei Zimra, Melech Elkei HaOlamim.
Yitkadosh, Yitkadosh Merabah.
Amen.
Lomad Yiverach Hirutei Be'emrit Malchutei.
B'chayechonu yomechon, Uvchayedecho Ben Yisrael. Bagala, Bagala, Ubizman Karim. Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabba Mevorach, Le'olam Me'ol Me'ol Maya, Yitbarach.
Yitbarach, Vishtabach, Vitpar, Vitramam, Vitnaseh, Vitadar, Vitadar.
Borechu.
להעמיד כל ברכתה ושירתה.
Tushbechata v'nechemata damirat bi'alma.
ואימרו.
Amen. We turn to 226 for the Baruch Hu. We rise.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Vayeh. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Yotzer Or Uvarei Choshech Oseh Shalom Uvarei Et HaKol Hamehir La'aretz V'Ladarim Aleha Barachamim Uvtuvo Mechadesh Bechol Yom Tamid Maaseh Bereshit Ma Rabu Maasecha Adonai Kulam B'Chochma Asita Mal'a Haaretz Kinyanecha Titbarach Adonai Eloheinu Shebach Maaseh Yadecha V'al Me'orei Or She'asita Yefarucha Selah Or Chadash Shal Tzion Ta'ir V'nizkeh Kulanu Me'ira Li'oro Baruch Atah Adonai Yotzer HaMa'orot. How deeply you have loved us, Adonai our God, gracing us with surpassing compassion. On account of our forebears whose trust led you to teach them the laws of life, be gracious to us, teaching us as well. O merciful one, have mercy on us by making us able to understand and discern, to heed, learn, and teach, and lovingly to observe, perform, and fulfill all that is in your Torah. Ereneinu b'toratecha, v'dahabek leheinu b'mitzvotecha, v'yached levaveinu, le'achava u'yira et shemecha, v'lo nebosh, v'lo nikalem, v'lo nikashem, le'olam va'ed, ki b'shem kodshecha, Agadol hanora batachnu, nagila v'nismecha, nagila v'nismecha b'shuatecha, v'habienu le'shalom, me'arba kachon ha'aretz, to'licheinu, o'mimiyud le'artzeinu, Baruch Atah Adonai Abocher Ba'amo Yisrael Yahava. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Evod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Be seated. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha v'chol nafshecha ובכל מידך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על דבר בך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ושכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, היו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת. 239. Emet, there is no place where you are not, even in the wilderness there is your word. Emet, that pen strokes of lightning, white fire, black flame, stir the soul's passion, guide our sacred way, true and enduring is Torah. Your truth for us is certain and established now and forevermore. Like Moses, Miriam, and all Israel, we sing out and rejoice. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, la la la, mi chamocha bani Madonna, mi chamocha neder baruch, Torah tehilot osefele, Torah tehilot osefele, Shira hadasha, Shibud Yehulim, Shibud Chosefat Hayam, Yachad kulam, Odu v'himleku, Adonayenu, Le'olam va'ed, Yalayla, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Turn to 242 as we rise for the tefillah. Sivatai tiftahu fiya yitehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imateinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaHakol, V'zocher Chasdei Amo באימהות ומביא גאולה לבניהם מנשימו מאהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע משיב הרוח ומביא הגשם מכלכל חיים בחסד מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ברפי חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני העפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמנת על החיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל
לקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמנו הכתוב ליד נביאך וכרזה ואמר
קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוא כל הארץ כבודו
אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו מאדיר שמך בארץ
ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו היכנו אלוהינו ואבינו
ומלכנו ומושיענו והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו לעיני כל חי אני אדוני אלוהיכם
ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון לדור ודור הללויה
לדור ודור נגיד גודלך ולנצחים קדושת היום בשבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא יבוש לעולם ועד
ברוך אדוני האל הקדוש
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם איש אשת ימים עשה עלי את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת שבת ויהי נפש שבת ויהי נפש
253. We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories glowing even in darkness, for Shabbat peace born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessing, O God. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Let's say, Adonai Eloheinu, v'amcha Yisrael, ותפילתם מאהבה תקבל, ותהי לרצון תמיד עבודת ישראל עמך, אל קרוב לכל קוראה, פני אל עבדיך וחוננו, שפוך רוחך עלינו ותחזינה עינינו בשובך לציון ברחמים. ברוך אתה אדוני המחזיר שכינתו לציון. 256. We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai our God and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one, whose mercies never end, O compassionate one, whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. For all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness. You are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, atov shimcha v'cha nahel. Sim, sim, shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova umracha. Ya la 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 la, ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la. Ya la la, ya la la la, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova umeracha. Let's take a few moments of silent reflection, silent prayer. This is the end of the book of Genesis this week. So I think we'll read the last few verses from the Torah. And Isaac, would you help me open the ark and undress the Torah? We rise as we turn to page 364.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, ki mitzion tetzei Torah, udevar Adonai mirushalayim, baruch shenatan Torah, baruch shenatan Torah,
Le'amo Yisrael, B'kedushato, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, L'naitim L'mashemoya. La 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 la, ya la la la. No malignancy. Ya la 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 la. La 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 la. Take the crowns and put them on the pegs. Take the crowns. Pull the crowns off. Pull up. Pull hard. Pull them up. Put them on the pegs. Off and put it on a peg. Put it around the peg so it doesn't fall. Take the cover off. You can rest the cover on the railing. So it'll come on the front to you. Come to you. Bring it to you. Yeah, okay. Good. Good. Okay, close the ark. Thank you very much. Good job. Please be seated. I don't know what page we're on. It's the end of the book of Genesis. I'm just going to read the last few verses. This portion, Vayechi, talks about Jacob blessing first his grandsons, Ephraim and Manasseh, and then his sons, giving each one sort of a description. And then both Jacob and Joseph die, and they are both, and I always find this fascinating, that both of them die and are embalmed. And yet embalming did not become embalming did not become a Jewish custom. We do not embalm. And I wonder why they chose other customs and not the embalming, because two of the great ancestors were embalmed. But that's the way it was. Both of them made Jacob made Joseph promise that he would bring Jacob back to the cave of the patriarchs to be buried there. And so Jacob is buried there. And it was not such a, an easy thing. Joseph actually had to ask Pharaoh permission to take him and his brothers, and I guess their wife, but they left behind their children and their cattle to stay, and probably some of the women, to stay in the land of Egypt, so Pharaoh knew they would come back. So that was one thing that I found fascinating. Joseph is not brought back to the land of Israel after his death immediately. He's brought back much later, and it seems from the way the story reads that Joseph is the first of the brothers to die. We don't hear of the deaths of any of the brothers, but he talks to his brothers, and the brothers are very concerned, by the way, when Jacob dies, because they don't know if Joseph has just been nice to them since his father was alive, and they tell Joseph that their father made told them to tell Joseph that when he dies, he's supposed to take care of his brothers and not seek revenge on them. Sort of very self-serving, I suppose. And Joseph, does anybody know when Joseph is brought back to the land of Israel? After the Exodus. So Joseph is brought back then, and he is not buried in the cave of the patriarchs. We're not 100% sure where he's buried. Some claim that it's up near Nablus, up near in the northern part of the country, because that was the area where Ephraim took over in terms of a land area. And there's a place called Joseph, and it's become a controversial place. There has been some violence there. And the problem is, historically, the place might not be really the burial place of Joseph, and might simply have been there was some other person, some revered person who was named Joseph, and he had been there because Joseph became a name that was commonly used. Anyway, so that's some of the story and the follow-up in the years later. Would anybody have anything to celebrate that they'd like an aliyah for? Peggy, would you like to do it? Oh, Susan, you raised your hand? Just a good anything. Come on up. Peggy, come up with it, because I called your name anyway, and I wouldn't want to insult you. So the two of you can do it together. Both of you, yes. So I'm reading from the last section, Vayar Yosef. What verse is that in the book? 23. Okay, thank you. Ready? Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam, Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim, V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Vayar Yosef Ephraim b'nei Shleshim, Gam b'nei Machir ben Menashe Yudu al Birkei Yosef. And Joseph saw the children of Ephraim up to the third generation, and the son of Machir, the son of Menashe, were born on the knee of Joseph. Vayomer Yosef el achav, Anochi meit Elohim pakod yifkod etchem v'halei etchem min haaretz hazot el haaretz asher nishba la'Abraham li'Yitzhak li'Yaakov. And Joseph spoke to his brothers, I am about to die, and God has given you direction to bring you up from. God will bring you up from this land, to the land that was sworn to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Vayishba Yosef et bnei Yisrael lemor pakod yifkod Elohim etchem v'haleitem et ha'atzmotai mizeh. And Joseph said to the Israelite, made the Israelites, or the sons of Israel, the brothers actually, swear to him, saying, may God direct you to bring me up my bones from this place. Vayamot Yosef ben Mea ve'eser shanim v'yachantu ve'et oto v'yisem ba'aron b'Mitzrayim. And Joseph died when he was 110 years, and they embalmed him, and they put him in a casket in Egypt. And before we say the blessing, we say, repeat after me, Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazek, be strong and be strengthened as we continue our study of Torah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Jerry, would you come lift? Well, Jerry left. Herbie, you able to lift the Torah? Or sorry to take that honor away from Jerry. Dale, would you come up and dress the Torah? Dale? I would, but it is a little heavy. I don't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore because of my shoulder. Please rise. And down first before you go up. Yes, go ahead. Don't close it. Bend down first. Right, go up with the whole body. Turn around. Right to the chair over there. Buckle comes in the front. Remain standing. Shalom, shalom, Hashemenu Adonai, Lechavina, Hanesham. Please be seated. Jerry, sorry, but you were out of the room when the Torah was going up. Okay. Next time, you remind me that you didn't get the honor this time. So let's read a little in the Torah. So let's see what page I wanted to read on. Sorry I didn't write down the pages. Right at the beginning, page 306. Would somebody read slowly and loud? $306, right at the beginning. 47:28, yes. Okay.
Jacob lived in the land of Egypt for 17 years. Jacob's days, the years of his life, were 147. When Israel's time to die drew near, he summoned his son Joseph and said to him, "If I have but found favor in your sight, please put your hand under my thigh and treat me with faithful kindness. Please do not bury me in Egypt. When I am laid to rest with my ancestors, carry me out of Egypt and bury me in their burial place." He replied, "I will do as you say." He said, "Swear it to me." So Joseph swore it to him. Israel then bowed down at the head of the bed.
Next.
After these things, they said to Joseph, "Look, your father is fading. So he took his 2 sons with him, Ephraim and Manasseh. When they told Jacob, saying, "Look, your son Joseph has come," Israel rallied and sat in the bed. Jacob said to Joseph, "El Shaddai appeared to me in Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me, saying to me, Behold, I will make you fruitful and multiply you. I will make you a multitude of peoples, and I will give you this land to your seed after you as an everlasting possession. Now, then, your 2 sons born to you in the land of Egypt, before my arrival in Egypt, they are mine. Ephraim and Manasseh will be to me like Reuben and Simon. But your progeny, whom you engender after them, are yours. They will be called by their brothers' names and their family allotment. And I, as I was coming from Padan, Rachel died in the land of Canaan, on the road, only a stretch of ground before reaching Ephrath. I buried her there on the way to Ephrath, that is, Bethlehem.
Next.
When Israel saw Joseph's sons, he asked, "Who are these?" And Joseph said to his father, "They are my sons whom God has given me here." He, Jacob, said, "Bring them to me, pray, that I may bless them." Israel's eyes had grown clouded with age. He could no longer see. Joseph brought them over to him, whereupon he kissed and hugged them. Israel then said to Joseph, "I never expected to see your face again, and here God has shown me your progeny as well." Joseph then removed them from his knees and bowed down before him to the ground. Then Joseph took the 2 of them, Ephraim and with his right hand to Israel's left, and Manasseh with his left hand to Israel's right, and he brought them close to him. But Israel stretched out his right hand and placed it on Ephraim's head, even though he was the younger, and his left hand on Manasseh's head, crossing his arms, so Manasseh was the firstborn. He then blessed Joseph, saying, "The God before whom walked my fathers Abraham and Isaac, the God who has shepherded me ever since I came into being until this day, the angel who has rescued me from all harm, bless these lads. Through them let my name and the name of my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, ever be recalled, and let them greatly multiply within the land."
Next.
When Joseph saw that his father had placed his right hand on Ephraim's head, it seemed wrong to him. So he took hold of his father's hand to move it from Ephraim's head onto the head of Manasseh. Joseph said to his father, "Not that way, father. This is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head." But his father refused, saying, "I know my son. I know. He too shall become a people, and he too shall be great. Yet his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his seed shall become a multitude of nations." So he blessed them that day, saying, "By you shall the people of Israel give their blessing, saying, May God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh." And he put Ephraim ahead of Manasseh.
Last 2 verses.
Israel then said to Joseph, "I'm dying now, but God will be with you and bring you back to the land of your ancestors. And he had given them, and I have given you, first among your brothers, the Shaphan mountain ridge, which I won from the Amorites with my sword and my bow." Jacob then...
Okay, no more.
Okay.
No more. Okay, this is as far as I wanted to go. So, what custom came out of this chapter?
Blessing the boys on Shabbat.
Blessing the sons, the boys, the males on Shabbat. And we bless the daughters by saying, "May you be blessed by Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah." And we bless the boys by saying, "Let you be blessed by Ephraim and Manasseh." I mean, just think of it. That's very strange. It's you had patriarchs. Why can't you be blessed by Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? but you're not. And so this blessing is important. Why is this an important factor for Joseph and for Jacob?
Because they know that we've been promised Canaan, and that after they've been in the desert for 40 years, that it's going to come about. And what they're doing is they're going to kill off the old ones until the young will then go into the land.
So the next generation will go into land. Why specifically are the blessings of Ephraim and Manasseh in this way, that Jacob not only blesses them, but he claims them as his own? Why does Jacob want to claim them as his own? Susan?
To try to solidify their claim to the heritage.
Okay, so to solidify their claim to their heritage. Now there's two pieces to that. One is the later historical one, where when the land is divided up amongst the tribe, you don't have a land area known as Joseph. You have a land area known as Ephraim and Manasseh. And one might wonder, why did they do that? And so maybe this was written after to give justification for why those two different tribes were tribes or part of the people of Israel. There's another reason. Think of Ephraim and Manasseh. Where were they born? Egypt. Who was their mother? An Egyptian. There's some midrashic that tries to make her a relative, but she's not. She's an Egyptian. She's the daughter of the Egyptian priest. So what is Jacob doing by saying to them, "You're like my other sons"? He's saying something to them. He's making them Hebrews. He's making them part of the people, right? He's adopting them and saying, "You're part of this family. You're not different. You're not Egyptian." What does this say to us? What?
Conversion, people are accepted.
Conversion is one, but it's patrilineal in a sense, because Joseph, that's good. I didn't think of that. But yes, so the conversion, the acceptance of those who actually have different mothers, come in, bring them in from the outside. You're part of the people. You're part of the heritage. You're important. That's one. Good. What else? Saying something else to us. Doesn't matter where you're born. Doesn't matter where you're born. Right? How many of you were born in the United States? Okay? Who was born elsewhere? Where were you born in? Israel. So you know the connection, right? But us, are we lesser than the people who were born in Israel or who live in Israel? No. We're part of the Jewish people, and didn't matter that we were born here and not someplace else. Ukraine? Oh, I forgot the Ukraine, yes. I didn't look over there. I don't see out of my right eye. I just want you to know. So I didn't, okay. And I actually knew that. Okay. So I apologize. Anyway, so it's saying to us, to the future of Judaism, to the future of the Jewish people, it doesn't matter where you're born. You're part of this heritage, just like the sons who were born there and part of that. You haven't assimilated so much, even though they may have, that you're seen outside of the people. The chances are they were raised as Egyptian royalty. He was the second in command to Egypt. You think he lived, in the apartment block that his brothers he put up? No, he lived in, something, not the palace, but he certainly probably had a big mansion, McMansion or something in those days. I don't know. So that's it. What else did you get out of this chapter? Gail?
On a very secular level, I have to say that there was the planning for after death. What a gift to give our children some instruction about where we'll be buried, who is going to have what, and minimize the...
It's not secular, Gail. It is so important spiritually. And what it does is when parents or people don't give instructions to their children what to do, the first death of a parent is just so difficult sometimes. And we wrestled, in my family, we wrestled with my dad because he wouldn't make arrangements. I didn't realize my dad, who was the biggest rationalist I ever saw in my life, was so superstitious about death. He wouldn't talk about it. He wouldn't tell us oh, you know what I want. No, Dad, I don't know what you want. You've never told me. Well, simple. Well, simple can mean a lot of things, Dad. simple, so you wrestle with that. So anyone who can make planning beforehand, it's never too young to do that. We went in and we sat down in the chapel with Jared here in Rochester. We sat down and we said, look, this is what we want. We were going to even pay for it in advance, so it takes that. But he said, no, you don't do yourself any favor by paying for it now, because if the costs increase, you're going to pay more later. So you might as well just put the money aside, and but put the money aside for them so that they have what for. But the emotional power of taking that burden off those who need to bury you is really very, very helpful, and I say spiritual. I don't think it's secular at all. I know.
Not religious, but yes,
Yeah.
definitely spiritual. Yeah.
I think by setting up, the inheritance, that it might minimize the competition between siblings and some of that conflict that comes up.
Okay, so what is the traditional way of dividing a fortune in an ancient biblical family?
First son.
Gets what?
Double.
Double. So if there's only 2 sons, Manasseh would have gotten double, and Ephraim would have gotten 1. So it's like, if you have 2 sons, you divide it to 3, he gets 2 and 1. If you have 4 sons, later on daughters come into the play, because when the daughters of Zelophehad, it's only when they don't have a son that they come into play. And the Bible has its problems, we know that. So if you have 5 sons, divide your fortune into 6, oldest gets 2 6, and everybody else gets 1 portion. Other thing, what else happens in the Bible? What?
No, I was just wondering, what is the fact that the younger always seems to surpass the older in the Bible?
So
Incidences.
right up to,
Why?
I don't know the whys. Maybe the why is to break this pattern. Right, Abraham's not the oldest son of his father. Isaac, Ishmael preceded him. Jacob, Esau came out first. Joseph, 10 of them came out before him, or from different mothers. Now Joseph's sons. So it's sort of breaking that rule of primogeniture, that the oldest is the most important. It's almost saying, maybe Jacob saw in Ephraim and Manasseh, this one has a little bit more talent. This one has a little bit more potential. Or maybe he has less potential and therefore needs to help him more. I don't know. But it seems to be he's not the one that I'm sure is going to take it on. So it's not always the oldest who can take on the family heritage.
But doesn't that cause family strife?
Read the Bible. Doesn't that cause family strife? Yes.
That causes that.
Look, so we do it the other way. We say we love all our children equally, and we divide everything up equal, and that's how we do it. We can divide up everything equally. That's possible, and hopefully there are no fights. But at the same time, we know we don't love all of them equally. We don't love them differently. We have the same amount of love. Some have different needs, and we have to provide for those needs. But let me tell you, my mother, in her wisdom, decided, I don't know how many years ago, she sat down with my sister and my wife and said, let's divide all my jewelry so we know who gets what. Okay? My dad had actually only had 3 pocket watches, but he considered my brother-in-law like a son because his mother and father died before, he was very old. So he went out and bought a 4th pocket watch, and he designated who would get which pocket watch. The oldest son got the nicest, but don't tell anybody. Actually, mine is actually, I can't even wear it, it's so special. Anyway, so again, that division of things takes away those conflicts. We hope those conflicts. But where do I see huge amount of conflict constantly, time after time, when we think it's going to be easy? Somebody dies and somebody expects, and this one expects that, and this one expects that, and I'm getting cheated, and I'm not getting cheated. It's an awful time. Herb?
Yeah, there are a number of things that come up in here that there are questions about. One, God has established for the future that 2 kingdoms are going to be, between the northern kingdom and southern kingdom, because of the split of the brothers here, rather than just one Hebrew kingdom that comes.
No, God doesn't establish it now. That happens later on when they don't get along. In reality,
God says there's going to be, they're both going to be
Oh, right, but Manasseh is not a separate kingdom. In fact, Manasseh is part of Israel. When it comes under, there are two power tribes in the end when the tribes move into Israel. First of all, the tribes were distinct entities when they were in Israel. And so if you read the book of Judges, you have a very different picture than a unified people coming into the land of Israel, as opposed to Joshua, which says we all came in together, we conquered together, and then we divided up. No, they were really divided. Manasseh wasn't a separate piece. He was part of that northern kingdom, which Ephraim was the power tribe in the north. Who was the power tribe in the south? Judah. Also, not the oldest brother, right? Who was the oldest brother? Is Reuben, but he doesn't get that. So Judah's a tribe. And so when the kingdoms divide, you have the northern kingdom, often called Israel, but sometimes called Ephraim. And the southern kingdom called Judah. But Manasseh is not a separate kingdom. But here he's saying, you're going to have your own tribe. You're going to have your own tribe and your own people. But it wasn't the separation of the northern and the southern kingdoms.
And two other things. One, this is pre-Jewish, so to speak, as a religion. Okay? I mean, and two, where's Dinah?
What?
Dinah.
Who?
Dinah. April Dinah.
Oh, Dinah. Where's Dinah? Dinah gets lost.
Everything's being split up.
Dinah gets lost. Again, it's the lack of consideration that women are equal partners in the whole endeavor. And that's the problem with the Bible. One of the problems with the Bible. Can't do anything. Neely, you had your hand up. Did you want to say something?
No, I had a problem. What do I do with my husband's things? I have 2 sons. I skipped the sons and I gave to the grandson. Because I have only one
That's a
grandson.
possible solution also. And sometimes, right, by the way, that's sometimes a solution that works. Give it to the grandchildren, the children can't get mad at you. They could, but they really can't. They can't show it. Susan?
I was just thinking that he repeats God's promise. Behold, I'll make you fruitful and multiply you. I'll make you a multitude of peoples, and I'll give you this land. I think there's a power of communicating. I mean, that's the big one. That's the big.
That's the big future.
Inheritance.
Right.
And it's intangible. And how do you pass on the tangible to the next generation, the intangibilities that I guess faith represents to the next generation? And it's
Great question.
yeah.
It's been answered. Question is called, you have 2 wills. You have your material will and you have your spiritual will, your ethical will. You pass on your values and your ideas to your children through what's called an ethical will. We used to do an exercise here where we had the kids sit down and the parents sit down, and the parents would write out sort of their ethical will to their children. And years ago I taught a course on it, some people did it. But it's the idea that I don't want to just give my kids my things. What are my values that are really ultimate? Now, many of your kids know what they are. Many of you have expressed them, but sometimes they're not 100% sure. What is it? And you wrestle with those things. That by doing the exercise of writing it, you're wrestling with the things. What are the most important things that I want my kids to know, and hopefully they will have from me? Without, again, you can't direct them who they can become. That's the challenge. But how do you say, these are my values, I want you to be sure you know it, these are things I can pass on to you that way, and I hope you take them, and I hope you receive those gifts. Anybody else? Yes?
I had a question about why a double portion? Why is there
I don't know the reason. I don't know the reason. It was, this firstborn extra goes on throughout history. In Europe, why were there such mass immigrations from Central Europe in the mid-19th century? 1, because there were revolutions. 2, because only the oldest son was allowed to inherit the land. And so the youngest sons couldn't do it. They had to go into a trade or something. So they got up and they left, and they went to they came here. But I don't know. Maybe there's a reason. I just don't know.
I have a second question.
Lisa, yeah.
In here it says verse 8 where they start calling him Israel instead of Jacob. A little bit about that.
Well, it's early. This goes back to the wrestling match early when Jacob wrestles with the angel. And when Jacob says, bless me, and says, you will no longer only be called Jacob, which has a root of the supplanter or the heel. And if we use the slang word heel in English, we call somebody a heel. It's a negative term, and he was a negative. Israel takes on a powerful meaning. It's you're the wrestler with God wrestler, or you're the prince of God. You have a nobility to you. So Jacob had both names, and those names are sometimes interchanged in the text without actual explanations. Sharon?
Is there a point, or when is the point when the women become part of the inheritance?
Around the 1970s, I think.
That's it, right? I mean,
Right?
here.
And it's still not fully there.
No, so it's been never.
Forget it. I mean,
Right.
no justification.
Yeah.
Just, it's not good.
Only when they do something heroic, like
Only when in the Bible,
Otherwise,
otherwise they're hardly mentioned.
Right.
Maybe as a wife or a producer of children, that's heroic.
I was wondering, what is the significance of when you're blessed to put your hand under a person's thigh?
First of all, put your hand under your thigh, think it's a man, and think where that hand is really going. And it's a way of making a vow. That was the custom. It goes way back. Yeah, you got it, Millie, I think. It's a very intimate spot. Shelley.
I wanted to ask you about the angel who he says has rescued me. We believed in angels very early on, and that it mentions that his angel has protected him throughout his life.
Angels are messengers of God, and we go back to the very beginning of Genesis. Angels exist in Judaism. They're not white-robed winged creatures that sit on trees. But there are different angels. There are good angels and there are bad angels.
Yes.
So we have angels. Okay? We said our blessings already, and we closed when we read the Torah. So we're ready for 586 in the prayer book as we rise for the Aleinu. Adon hakol lategru laliotze breshi shelo asanadigoye haratzot velo hosamanu mishpachot adama shelo sam chelkeinu kahem vegor aleinu kevol amonam vanachnu korim umishtachavim umadim lifnei melech Malkei Hamlachim, Akadosh Baruch Hu, Shamayim v'Yosef haaretz, u'Moshe Kavo b'Shamayim v'Ma'ah, u'Shkeinat v'Zah, v'Govei Meromim, u'Eloheinu Einon, Emem Malkeinu Efezulato, Akazu b'Torato Yadata Hayom Yashivota El Babecha Ki Adonai Hu Elohim B'Shamayim Ima'al V'Al Haaretz V'Al Haaretz V'Yikach V'Ne'emar V'Haya Adonai למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו The Shabbat, we offer sympathies to those who mourn the recent deaths of Doug and Gail Strodel, the uncle an aunt of Jeff Davis, cantor Arnie Schultz, cantor of Lily Moldman, former cantor, Scott Rosenfeld, the son of Elise Rosenfeld, cantor Elliot Dicker, cousin of Marlene Gordon. We also remember the yard sites, the anniversaries of the deaths of Minnie Aaron, Ida Ash, Bertha Eisenstadt Epstein, Beatrice Edlinger, Alana Farkas, Todd Fleischman, Milton Friedman, Mary Gleason, Alfred Greenspan, Francis Heimberg, Janet Miriam Joseph, Herbert Kraus, Seymour Kushner, Stephen Magid, Gert Rellin, Abraham Rifkin, Robert Rockmaker, Eugene Rosenbaum, Mary Rosenzweig, Edward Schulzinger, Carol Tolan, Edwin Juncker, and Bernard Zeldman. Any other names anyone would like to share? Zichronam Livracha, may the memories all be for blessing. Our Mourner's Kaddish is found on page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Yalmad yivrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayei echon v'yomei echon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'galav v'zman kariv yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach v'yalam l'omei omaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitrama v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei kudishah b'richu, v'eila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechmata, la'amiran b'yamam v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, v'yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'yal kol Yoshvei Tevel, v'yimru amen. God who creates peace in the heavens, let peace descend on us and all Israel, all the world. Let us say together, amen. You may be seated. I'm picking up some highlights from the announcement list. Tomorrow afternoon at 2:30, Women's Havurah is having a meditation program led and taught by our own Wendy Beller Madway. The Inclusion and Accessibility Committee is meeting Monday at 6:30. The Women's Havurah is doing a pad party on Tuesday at 7 p.m. And next Saturday is the Sinai Cafe. Sign up on the website at 7:30. It's a real fun evening, nice and easy going. And then finally, the Winterfest is on February 1st. Sign up on the website again by January 16th. There's a new location. It's not in Webster Park. It's in Highland Park at the Olmsted Lodge, and you can see about that there. Okay. So following services, everybody's invited back for no cookies, right? Where's Ellen? She left. What? She's getting cookies. She told me there's no cookies. I don't know if I can stand with no cookies. So we'll say blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. What? Oh. Okay, anything else? Closing song. Fine, good one. Shalom bimromam, uyaseh shalom aleinu.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yeah, I couldn't fit into it.
Volunteers, teachers were taking away Shabbat Shalom. I'm not hugging, I'm getting over sinus infection. 7 and a couple. Shabbat Shalom. A couple of but it's the first time my teachers. Yes, barely. She was. And was so excited. And somebody says, one voted and
My emphasis is more music.
in the administrative building. But you raise so on top. Yeah.
That's only you can't sit on the top, but at least I can talk.
I know. Oh, my.
Anyway, were you guys come next time? Friday night is our main. Usually, Friday night usually is bigger. People come.
This is it.
Same thing. This is very careful. Okay. Great.
I'm not hugging. I'm fine, but I'm over sinus infection, and I'm not
Friday night
contagious, but
usually is 4 movements. Friday night is bigger than Saturday night. Friday night. Well, first everything's here. It's the same service.
Good.
I mean,
It's supposed to be Sunday
different pages.
at 9:30.
Yeah, he's
Good,
better
yeah.
than
I'm
Usually you
fine.
can look at it.
I didn't think so.
Friday night. I'll see you, Neely. I'll see you later.
Yeah,
I know you looked around.
so
So we have different teams, like last night, my youth band.
Well, it's been there for many years now, and every time I go to Main Street, I'm like, oh, I've got to go
First,
there.
good question. First Friday
I
of the
know
month,
that it's
family Shabbat,
yourself.
with complimentary dinner,
Good.
complimentary
That's what I need
dinner,
to
and
hear.
activities for kids.
Okay.
Like different themes.
All right,
Like
good.
February
Too
1st,
long.
Friday of the month, February
long.
7th.
Oh, no,
It's a different one.
First
Yeah,
and
this
second.
is
Yes, I'm gonna
usually
go in
called,
6 o'clock.
what is it? The one in South
I'll
Africa.
get
Both
to
of
Oh,
them.
it's South, it's South Africa, right,
It's
yeah.
great. It's a good time, but
So I
First
saw
Friday, second
Jackie
Friday,
there,
we
and
have
she was
something
buying
with
all the
hair
coffee
gal.
for me tomorrow.
Yes,
So,
Friday, Friday night, 6 o'clock.
yes, she had, and so I said to her,
Please.
did you get decaf? And she said,
Like
I
next
didn't
Friday,
think of it. And I said,
next month,
Just get some,
February
because we can
7th, we
always
have
use
a
it
STEAM
to
Academy Award. The kids gonna,
I'm going to do
Academy
it.
Award.
That's the one I'm going to do.
Academy
No.
Award. So they're gonna watch a movie. I mean, they're gonna have service.
Wait until
Eat
people
dinner, but they eat
come.
like in 10 minutes. And then
I know, I don't know either.
They just
in a different
decided
room
that in such
with a
a
supervisor, we're gonna watch a movie like a large movie.
So she wanted us to think of something, this is the compost, the money that's coming, like the composting thing, which is
February 7th.
And then, the
6
next
o'clock.
one,
And
she
then
asked us to think of
February
something, the one I signed up
13th?
for.
Oh, because it's you
For
and
you,
February
Sandy.
14th?
But you
14th,
didn't come through though,
14th.
because it was when you had also
February
signed
7th.
up.
Yeah, but I
February
thought.
7th and
You
14th.
got the 7th?
Yes, February Shabbat, 14th,
Okay.
6 o'clock.
The girls, everybody.
How old are your grandchildren?
Oh, my, yeah, my big girls and.
They're perfect for both Shabbats. So 7 and 14.
But they would probably want to come.
They'll like it. And the 14.
They want to come today.
Oh, that's so sweet. I'll see you inside. Okay. Okay, nice to see you. Good job, Russ. Everything's good. Yeah.
And that would
As good as it could be. Yeah, nice to see you.
I'm putting it down so that I can remember.
So the 14th is also, young
I put
family.
the 7th and also at the 14th.
14th. Yeah, we have different games and we can play.
At 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock is the third. Then dinner. Activities.
Also the seminar, the
Maybe a Friday would have to be here.
and then we go.
And then in this part we show dinner. Which is a piece of forward. Dinner here. And
We're the same age. Yan again. She was right outside St. Louis fighting football. Yeah, I found her. Okay. So, I hope, you know, I said, I don't want to be, you know, I'll be calm, and if she can, she can. So my daughter should be Friday, and I heard this at 24/7, I'm keeping open. Okay. Until I find out if she's coming back, so that's a big deal. She doesn't know, so it's only 2 weeks away. Well, I'm taking some old students of mine out to lunch now. I was thinking,
All